Hi, friends, and happy Monday. It's your friend Ryan Rolfe with the DSM Sold team at Keller Williams Legacy Group here in Des Moines in Central Iowa. And it's Monday once again, so that means it's time for Monday Market Update. As we head into the last couple weeks of 2025, we're going to talk today about price reductions and an interesting milestone that we hit this past week, which, if you watched previous videos, you might guess what that is. Excited to be back with you today. Last week, I was out of town, so didn't do the Monday market update. So hopefully you didn't miss me too much, and yet I'm super excited to be here today. So let's jump in and talk about, well, first, the big milestone that we hit. We hit that 4,500 homes active on the market as of yesterday. It may have been earlier this week, but when I pulled the data yesterday at around 7:30 p.m., we were at 4,506 homes, all price points, all locations across our Des Moines Area Association multiple listing service. So that is something that we had been slowly getting closer to over the past couple of months and weeks, and we are finally there. So that just continues the trend of what we've been seeing, listings, making sure that you are pricing your home competitively with what else is out there in your price range, in your area. Think of what somebody else might be comparing your home to. That's what we're doing when we're helping you price your home before listing. So we're not just picking a number out of the air or, hey, let's do this number, because we could list your home at any number that you want, right? But even the best marketing isn't going to sell an overpriced listing. So we want to make sure that you're getting your home sold in the time that you need. That's why we're recommending where we're recommending for a price, and what the average days on market are, and why we talk about that as well, to give you an idea of, okay, if we're not meeting that benchmark, what do we need to do to adjust so that we aren't sitting on the market a long time? Because as I've mentioned previously, the listing gets more stale the longer it sits on the market. And while folks are getting more used to listings sitting longer, there certainly is still some of that questioning of, what's wrong with this property if it's been sitting for 90 days or more. I feel like at least what we're seeing under 90 days, usually, at least I'm not getting those questions. I will always explain to our buyer clients, hey, this could be for a variety of reasons. The market is slowing down a little bit, could be overpriced, or there were other homes in the neighborhood. Just kind of depends on supply and demand in that given area. That's why that average days on market is an average, and that's of everything. So if you looked more neighborhood specific, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, that may be different for that specific neighborhood, like Beaverdale, for example, versus Johnston. Those would probably be two different days on market numbers on average, right? Because it's a different type of market, different price range of homes, and there's a lot of things that go into that an overall average isn't giving you. That said, if you're pricing your home in line with the competition or ahead of the competition, people are going to be looking at your home instead of those others, or rather, they might look at those others as well and then come to your home and say, hey, this home offers more value for the money than this other property, so let's make an offer on this one versus the other one. So that's one way that you can make sure that your home is moving a little bit more quickly and you're still getting top dollar for your home. One of the things that we are also seeing, which we've been talking about this throughout the year as well, is price reductions. Certainly more price reductions. The market is calming down and we've got more listing inventory, so that means we need to be more competitive with our pricing. So on average, if we're looking at the mid-range of price points where a lot of our inventory is, that 200,000 to 650, 700,000, we're seeing closer to somewhere between 2 and 3%. A lot of it's kind of right in that mid zone. None of it's quite at the 3%. So that's price reductions on average. And that was looking back at October based on $100,000 price increments. So consider that, if you're looking at, okay, what should we be doing for our price if our home's not selling? Because price, condition, and location, those are the three things that tend to elicit what you might be able to get for your home. And the market change, of course, as well, does play into that. Overall, though, it's still, folks are out buying. Rates, though they've trended up a little bit, we're still seeing rates at a competitive rate range in the 5s to 6s. So hopefully that will continue, and maybe we'll see that come back down as we get later in the year. As we get into the holiday season, as I mentioned previously, we're seeing a lot of those buyers that are very focused on, hey, I need to find something now because got to get into a property right after the first of the year, before the end of the year. They've got a lease coming up or they're moving from out of area. And the folks that have their homes on the market on this time frame, there tends to be less homes on the market. So we may see that number of homes come down as we get closer to the end of the year, just because folks are taking their homes off the market over the holidays, maybe waiting until spring. Or we may see that we just continue that normal trend of a more normal market throughout the holiday season. Typically we will see some listings come off the market at least over the holidays, and then maybe come back on 2 weeks after the first of the year, or some of them may wait till later in February when we really start to get into that spring market. Hard to believe that we're talking about the spring market and when that's going to be coming up, and yet here we are. So hopefully this information is helpful for you if you're thinking about selling, and if you're buying, again, you do have a lot more negotiating power than previously, so make sure that you're speaking with your agent about what that could look like for you, and backing up your offers with data on why you're offering what you're offering. Just because the market has changed and there's more available doesn't necessarily mean you can just go in with a low offer and get it accepted, right? If you can explain why you're coming in at a lower number, that's typically what we'll do with our clients, is help them see that and then make sure that we're advocating for why they're offering that when we submit their offer. That can help sometimes help everybody come to that win-win agreement a little bit quicker. So this weekend we saw 200 and oops, that's last week. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong data. I was looking at the total active inventory, and that's where I put it on my sheet at the bottom. So I was looking at last week's numbers. This weekend we saw 164 new homes come on the market. 96 homes went into pending or under contract status, and 122 homes sold and closed. I think overall we might see those numbers come down a little bit as we move into the end of the year, just with the holidays coming up and folks kind of focused on the end of the year festivities and the new year and all the things that need to get done between that time, between now and then. So if you've got questions on what this might mean for you, or if you want me to go into detail on price reductions, or what it means for buyers, what it means for sellers in more detail for your specific situation, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to chat. Otherwise, have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.